This is Rudy Giuliani with the Rudy Giuliani Show. And since we're going to start off talking about the, is it fair to say the biggest con job of the Biden administration? No, one of the biggest, because at the end of the administration, we'll be able to figure out which cost the most lives. Could be Afghanistan, could be Afghanistan having created Ukraine. I guess it's the border, though. When you look at the increased fentanyl deaths, totally attributable to Joseph Robinette Biden, I think maybe we're going to end up historically finding that his actions and Mayorkas's actions with regard to the border, where we considered impeachment, maybe should have merited a murder charge. And what he's doing now is a complete con job, and it is fooling some of the people, some of the time. Let's hope not all of the people all of the time, because as we get closer and closer to this election, I'm counting on the common sense of the American people. Now, they didn't have it in 2020, or they were defrauded in one or two ways through the concealing of not just the hard drive. The hard drive demonstrates the concealing of a whole wealth of information about 30 years of crime, summarized best by Hunter Biden when he told his daughter in a text you never get to see that for 30 years he's been paying the family's expenses and giving half his salary to his father. Now, that summarizes thousands and thousands of pieces of evidence of a bribery scheme with Joe Biden as the chief organized criminal that would have surely defeated him as a candidate in 2020 by every poll taken since then. So when I say fraud, people immediately jump on stolen election. And I'm not shy about saying the election was stolen. You know that. And I'm hardly an election denier. I'm a truth teller. But I mean, you could make the argument that the fraud was the concealing of the hard drive and the involvement of the 51 former intelligence agents turned political prostitutes. Well, worse than political prostitutes. Prostitutes do far less damage to their country than those bastards did. So let's talk about the biggest con job now, a current one. And that is his announcement a few weeks ago that he was going to crack down on the border. And now he's going to go around. I mean, he wants to go into the debate a week from now. They try to go in there with tricks. They went in there with the covered up hard drive accusing the president and me of being Russian conspirators. The last time he spoke to the American people in a debate, he just flat out lied to them like the lifetime congenital liar Biden is, and told them that 50 or 51, because he went back and forth, intelligence agents certified that there was Russian handling of the hard drive. Now, of course, he knew that wasn't true. He also knew that those 51 people couldn't have considered anything because they just had come out. And Blinken, his ass licker, was the one who went around doing it for him. And they signed it without looking or seeing anything. So now we come up to this debate, and he's going to want to say, well, I've cracked down on the border. Well, if this is a crackdown on the border, he is right now taking in illegals with the crackdown on the border at the rate in which it would exceed any American president but himself. In other words, at 3,200 a day, which is what the latest estimate is, by the end of the year, that would be considerably more than any president, whether that's Trump or the communist president Obama, or the Republican President Bush, or the Democrat President Clinton, or we could even go back to Bush and Reagan and Carter and The Mariel boat lift was a disaster and is the prototype for what's happening. But I would describe this as the Mariel boat lift on steroids. This is the Mariel boat lift involving 10 or 15 different countries, at least 6 or 7 who were determined enemies of ours, having complete access to our border. About the easiest thing to do is actually for a Chinese to. And a lot of them come in on special parole programs, which you also never hear of. And a lot of them come in not detected at all, not arrested, not a got away. You never hear about that. And that could be as big as the ones that we arrest. So, I mean, if you tell me that 3,500,000 last year was stopped at the border, I'm going to tell you that at minimum 2 million got in and we never saw them. They're not on the got away list. The got aways, we see them, but we don't catch them. They're on the list like Hernandez. Oh, who's Hernandez? Well, Biden wouldn't know, but Hernandez killed Rachel Marin. You know who Rachel Marin is, right? I mean, she's at front page every place because the murder is so shocking. She's a mother of 5 who was killed by an illegal Biden invitee from, was he from Salvador? I believe so. I believe he was from Salvador. But he came in 3 times, and he was 3 times before. It's a little unclear exactly. He had come in, he had been sent back, he had come in and he went back. He came in again, he was ordered back. And then he came in again undetected. Or that's the, I mean, that could change as they get more and more evidence or they lie. But that's the way it looks. There's no question he came in illegally. There's no question he wouldn't have been here if Trump were the president. There's no question he wouldn't have been here if any other president had been president. He's here solely on a Biden exception. It's as if he has a passport given to him by Biden so that he could do here what he's wanted for there. I think he's wanted for murder there. Oh, as well as terrorizing children and all kinds of other things. So he ended up in Maryland last year, and when the mother of 5, Rachel, the mother of 5, was taking a run in the Mom Pie Heritage Trail, he jumped her, he beat her up, and he raped her, threw her in a culvert. They found her the next day, and over a period of time, they linked him being a 11-year-old child, being an invitee. They're stopping him from coming in right this minute with the 3,200 that come in. And whatever happened to the, I mean, the whole thing is foggy as hell, like all of the things that come out of the demented White House. And the weird thing about the demented White House is somebody else is making the decisions. But if somebody else is making decisions, they're pretty stupid and demented as well, because these decisions are stupid and demented. The stopping of people coming in from the border entails this, and therefore suggests that whoever is writing this up believes that you're stupid, that you can be sold a bill of goods, you can be sold anything, that the American people lack common sense, lack education, and lack intelligence, or their ideology pushes their hormones so far that they lose rationality, like some of them do over climate change, for example. The reason it lacks any rationality and is a complete contradiction, like Orwell, is it begins with 2,500 can come in every day illegally. actually allow more amnesty, again, than any other American president would ever have had. However, 3,200 have been coming in per day since the day he announced this. That's well over 2,500. That's well over 1,500. And it's well over the illegality permitted by any other American president, which, except maybe in the case of Obama, was purely accidental in the sense that they tried to stop people from coming in. Nobody's done what he's done, which is to help people come in. First of all, he invited them to come in during the election. And number two, he uses the Border Patrol. He completely prostitutes those poor guys by using them to help the people to come in. And then he finally, as we found out with any number of whistleblowers and leaks, they don't do any vetting. And even when they do, they ask a few perfunctory questions. I told you, the Chinese get asked 4 questions. What kind of vetting can that be? So that means the guy who just came in, who's next to you, could easily be Hernandez, a rapist, a murderer. Or maybe he could be an Ingolandi. Well, who's Ingolandi? Well, he's the guy that a week ago met 2 youngsters coming home from school, 13 years old, at a park that New Yorkers know well, and I know it real well, in Queens Casino Park, beautiful park, used to be. Crime-ridden now under Democrat mayors, but pretty damn safe when I was mayor and Bloomberg. These 2 children were coming home from school a week ago, and this illegal approaches them, believe this one is from Ecuador, and has a machete knife. His name is, I believe, Christian Giovanni Ingolandi. He's about 23. That doesn't mean that he isn't a pretty active criminal. He pulls out a machete knife. He points it at them. He pushes them into the park, where they're concealed. He ties their hands up and roughs up the boy first, and then rips the girl's clothes off with his knife and rapes her. And now he's added in his confession that he recorded it. Not at the beginning, but as he got more confident, he says, he recorded it. This is what Biden is letting in. And this is what Adams is letting in when Adams tells us, bring us, you're tired, you're poor, you're heavy laden. What are they? Complete jackasses? They open the border and have no controls over who's going to come in. You've got to assume the criminals are going to come in. When Trump says they're criminals, he has every right to say it because you don't know that they're not. You're almost better off if I'm the mayor of New York. I just got to assume all these people are criminals. Nobody ever checked them. Half of them nobody ever looked at, much less checked them. I mean, some of these people that I see, I can look at and I can tell you they shouldn't be let in. I mean, I did prosecute for a long period of time, and you develop an instinct for that. I mean, you see lots of men without any women, military age, looking like they never worked a day in their life, looking like they're members of gangs with tattoos on that distinguish them as members of gangs, and you let them in? They identified this guy with a tattoo. The other guy's a member of a gang. You mean our professionals can't smell these guys out? I reminded of the airport with Nolan, Lloyd Nolan, I think, and he played. It was a movie with a lot of stars having relatively small parts. Burt Lancaster had, and George Kennedy had the main parts. But he played a customs agent, and the guy who ended up being the person who hijacked the plane and bombed it, passed him on the way going through the gate. And there was nothing peculiar about him, except he looked nervous. And when the guy passed, Nolan sort of did a double. And I think at that point, or possibly later, he said, that guy looks funny. And then when it happened, he said, oh my God, I should have stopped him. I just had an instinct. Now, I know that liberals love to fight that about law enforcement, but I grew up in law enforcement. And the good ones develop that. You develop that, just like you do in any profession. You develop instincts. Doctors do. Lawyers do. I have instincts for liars because I had to cross-examine them so often. I was really good at it. Just go read the newspapers back in the 1970s and you can figure out how good I was at it. I'm not making it up. But I can feel when you're getting yourself in trouble lying. And as a good cross-examiner, which I used to teach, I give you a rope to hang yourself. You know, I'll give you an example. Biden says that he for years, and he felt so bad that the bridge went down, went over the Francis Scott Key Bridge on a train. And so I would have said, Mr. President, years, well, he must have gone over it thousands of times. He would have to have said, yeah, well, I imagine, yeah. And I've always been interested with regard to that bridge. When you look to the east, because you're going south, I would imagine if you're going to Washington. When you look to the east, do you actually get to see any of the Atlantic Ocean? And he would have told me yes or no. And I would have said, but do you get a good view of the river? Of course, yeah, unless it's very foggy. And can you see some land as you're going over the middle of the bridge? I mean, is that big or that small? He would have told me yes or no. I really wouldn't care what he said. And then I would say, did anybody ever tell you that bridge has never, in all the years of its existence, has had a single train go over it? Well, what were you doing? Were you going over with Christmas trains? I mean, that you elaborate the lie to make it more dramatic. And unfortunately, the Border Patrol, who are expert at picking these people out, they did it for Trump, they did it for Biden, they did it for Obama, they did it way back. And at least we had some degree of control. They're not allowed to do that. You just got to let them in. They got to know that they've got to know immediately looking at these people, the chances are they're criminals. If you ran one of these countries, you'd be crazy not to let out your crazy people from the criminally insane institutions. Why not follow Castro, who did this in 1978, 79 with Mario? You got a whole script to follow. You got Maduro to follow. He's got crime down in Venezuela because they're all here. They're getting arrested every day. And they try to hide it. The crooked, anti-American communist press tries to hide it. But there's an epidemic of illegal alien crime, and a lot of it is against young girls. So we'll take a short break, and we'll be
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. They're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
I had a great cup of Rudy's coffee this morning, and then a second one was really, really good. Not sure if I had the I have this morning. The morning I had the bowl this morning. Stephen made the coffee, so it was really good, Stephen. It was really good. You should get it. I'm serious. And we gotta have some coffee. It's healthy for you. Remember all the articles about it, particularly Rudy's coffee, because it's all natural. No artificial anything in it. I mean, you don't have the chemicals to kill you like they put in a lot of the different coffees, or the sweeteners, or you don't need that stuff. So it's really very hard to report these things. This crime wave of the illegal aliens who have come in numbers that are almost unfathomable. I mean, conceive of even 3.5 million last year. People coming in, knowing there'd be no arranged to bring them in that way. Because the cartels are managing it's not as if it's all chaos. The cartels are managing the border on the other side. Probably better than they ever have before, because they're better than they ever were before. They're making a fortune with China. I mean, they're making billions when I say a fortune. And they're making more off human trafficking than they are drugs. How can a Mayorkas or a Biden live with themselves? With all the lying they do. My heart goes out to the families, the Marin family. Rachel had 5 children. Bad enough the risk you take from other Americans, but to be killed by somebody who has no right to be here. Someone who not only has no right to be here, but would not be here under the policies of any other president. And I'm not making this argument just for Trump. I'm saying any other president. I mean, with the Remain in Mexico policy, he surely wouldn't be here. Who reversed the Remain in Mexico policy? The criminal in the White House. Maybe he likes letting criminals in. It makes him feel more at home, because that's what he's been since he was a little piece of scum. The guy lacks character. He's a completely immoral piece of crap. And that's why I think that's why he's being punished by being made a fool out of on the world stage. Sure, the liberals in America, let him get away with it. You think anybody all around the world doesn't know that he's a blithering idiot? They're going to buy that nonsense from the liar, the Daily Liar? Well, Rachel's mother blasted Mayorkas. And she should blast him and Biden, and they did actually earlier, for actually just letting these people in, as did the people in Queens. Biden, I mean, they know who's responsible for this. But for a second one, and this is also true of the cruel, evil guy in the White House. He referred to, he wouldn't use her name. Mayorkas said it's a completely political, Mayorkas said, first and foremost, of course, our hearts break for the children, the loved ones, and the friends of the individual was murdered. The woman, the mother. So Rachel's mother says it totally depersonalizes her and makes her an object. Well, that's exactly what she is to them. Like Biden's granddaughter, Navy, is an object to him, not a child who can be seriously damaged if a grandfather rejects her on the world stage and has his stepmother wife do specific things to hurt her, like put out 6 stockings instead of 7, or put out none. He's never met his granddaughter. We shouldn't elect somebody president who refuses to meet his granddaughter, because if he does, he's sick. This is an extraordinarily evil man in the White House. That's right. This is an evil man in the White House. He caused the death of more innocent people in a situation in which we are not directly at war than any American president. Didn't even get close. I mean, just take a look at Ukraine. There's not a single serious person in this world that thinks that Ukraine wouldn't have happened without what he did in Afghanistan. He caused it. Would not have happened under Trump, for sure. Probably wouldn't have happened under most other presidents. Maybe it would have happened under, well, maybe it would have happened under some presidents. After all, Putin invaded under just about every president that he's had except Trump. Invaded under Bush in Georgia. He invaded under Obama, Biden. So I guess I have to limit it to he certainly wouldn't have invaded under Trump. So this is a man who gets people killed. And if you're the mother of this woman, of course you would say my daughter is dead because this president and that guy Mayorkas for 3.5 years have been saying there's no crisis at the border. Meanwhile, this guy that kills her walks back and forth 4 times. Even when they order him to leave, they don't put him in detention and make sure he leaves. And I mean, if they're going to set up a plane or a bus for him to go to New York, why don't they set one up for him to go to Salvador, where he came? Take to the airport and take off and let Salvador deal with them. Or deposit them right back into the institution from the criminally insane they've been let out of. Now, you don't think that's happening? If you were a left-wing, communist-oriented dictator in one of these banana republics, why wouldn't you copy Castro? Or why wouldn't you copy Maduro, who has been doing it now for 2 years? And also get the credit for reducing crime in your country. A great way. Don't send them to jail. Send them up to the cartels. Make a deal with the cartels to get them into the U.S. That's the way the cartels work. They work for money. I mean, they'll get you in secretly if you want, if you pay for it. The border is very big, right? And the more diversion there is, the easier it is to get people in without detection. So it stands to reason that the more the border is penetrated in an illegal way that we're aware of, the more it's penetrated in an illegal way that we're not, because our resources are finite and they're used up. My congratulations to the people in the Casino Park area, including the very lovely lady who apparently beat the living crap out of this guy, Inga Landy. She tackled him, and well, we'll be right back. And I think Ted has shown you some of that, and we'll talk about a horrible worldwide spread of anti-Semitism, which is getting to be almost at levels where, well, we'll talk about it. We'll be right back.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
I put my name on something, I truly believe in it. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to something I'm incredibly proud of. My own brand of organic specialty coffee, Rudy Coffee. Believe me when I say it's the best coffee you'll ever try. It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting rudy.coffee. By supporting Rudy Coffee, you're not just treating yourself to exceptional coffee, you're also supporting our cause, the cause of truth, justice, and American democracy. You'll also be supporting the Call to Action nonprofit, which is devoted to helping veterans and first responders, so you can make a difference and taste the difference by ordering today at rudy.coffee.
Yes, Reddy is the young lady who necessary because, and I'm glad the district attorney isn't doing a brag here like they're doing with Mr. Penny, and trying to prosecute them for, protecting people, because Bragg doesn't prosecute even half the people that hurt New Yorkers. Well, behind me, I think you see the Wailing Wall, and boy, there's plenty of wailing that could go on in Israel with the amount of anti-Semitism that's going on. We know about it in the United States. We have it all over at our universities. It's almost at pandemic level. Certainly the Ivy Leagues. No matter what you do, it just keeps coming up and up and up. And you realize it's baked into the education, that we've let Marxism go so far that let Israel be so mischaracterized historically, and the Palestinians who are trained to be murderers from the day they're born become heroes. That our kids support the people who hate us and want to kill us, the Palestinians. That's a counterproductive. It's irrational to sign a state which would immediately become an ally of Iran, which is probably even a worse enemy than, not necessarily more dangerous, but a worse enemy than China or Russia. I mean, they religiously want to kill us, right? The others want to ideologically or commercially want to kill us. But they at least they claim they got it baked into their religion to kill us. And they're going to get great rewards if they do. The other, it's more of the unfortunate human and world historical, who's going to be the most powerful country in the world, and also the communist ideology, which is pretty damn sick, but doesn't usually get you into the range of insanity. The Ayatollah is in the range of insanity. as are a lot of the people that are sent over to the United States. Look at France, right? They just their 13-year-old girl raped because she didn't tell her boyfriend she was Jewish. That appears to be the reason. Now, again, 3 boys, 12, 13, and 14, raped a 12-year-old Jewish girl, according to the Nanterre Public Prosecutor's Office. And one suspect, they say, was allegedly the victim's ex-boyfriend. 12 years old and 12 and 14 seem a little young for boyfriend, but whatever, in any event. One suspect was allegedly the victim's ex-boyfriend, who planned revenge against her after she supposedly hid from him the fact that she was Jewish, according to Le Parisien. That was in the Post. So I don't know if how accurate that is, but whatever the reason, it was because they were Jewish. It was clear the conversation was all about the Hamas war and the Israelis being terrorists and the Jews being horrible. This is no longer. There's no longer any argument at all that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, is not hatred of the Jewish people. It all comes together when you listen to the teachings of the group that is driving it, which is Hamas, or the extremist Muslims. They're taught in the Quran that they should be killing the infidel or converting them. The other possibility is to take tribute from them. It's laid out very carefully in the Quran. That's when Muhammad went bad. You got the good Muhammad, the bad Muhammad. Nobody wants to tell you about the bad one. Well, they already have a couple of fatwas on me, so I might as well tell you about the bad one. So what they're saying is not exactly made up by them. It's got over 1,000 years of support in their holiest book, which has never been altered to remove that crap. I mean, there are a lot of Muslims who don't believe it, a lot of Muslims who reject it. Not an awful lot of Muslims who talk out against it, though. They got to worry about being alive when they do that. So now, anti-Semitism in Europe actually has been rampant for about 20 or 25 years. I remember going there as part of a conference appointed by President Bush 43, in which it was about anti-Semitism. I'm trying to remember, was it Germany or France? No. The conference was in Vienna, but it was about France, and it was about French anti-Semitism, and it was rampant, and that's why they were burning synagogues at the time. So this Muslim invasion of Europe and introduction of anti-Semitism again happened really toward the end of the last century. Gosh, there weren't enough Jews killed in Europe in the last century to wipe out anti-Semitism? One would think that was the case. Apparently, this sickness and hatred is so virulent that. Well, we have a very interesting race going on in Virginia. And it's really interesting because it'll shape, to some extent, the contours of my political party, the Republican Party. And particularly as we go to a convention in which it's certain who our nominee is going to be. And despite the fact that the fascist state in which we live wants to put the nominee of the opposition party in jail, the way Maduro did in Venezuela, we're going to nominate him, and he'll probably get more votes if he gives his acceptance speech from Rikers, where I'm sure he'll be surrounded by the Secret Service, who have to protect him no matter where he goes, and will. And I got to tell you, I know the New York Corrections Department. they sure as hell are going to be voting for him. And they sure as hell are not going to be voting for Biden, who they know is a criminal, or for Adams, who they know has caused all of their problems. I don't know about the prisoners. I don't even know. I remember getting applauded by the prisoners in Georgia. I don't know if it was sarcastic or they were saying, they actually were saying very bad things about Fannie. And it was before I knew all the dirty stuff about it. They were yelling all kinds of things about it. You can't believe it. I will not repeat it because I'll be accused of something if I repeat it. And I don't think I can actually say it on TV. But the race in Virginia is between Bob Good, who is the incumbent congressman, and isn't he the head of the Freedom Caucus? But Bob Good has also been very, very anti-Trump at times. I mean, not like just supported DeSantis, but very anti-Trump. Now he's like sucking up like crazy to Trump, and his opponent is a hero. He is a SEAL. All SEALs are heroes. He's a state senator, John McGuire. I had the pleasure of meeting him and questioning him, and I endorsed him. Either before or after President Trump, I don't remember. But I endorsed him personally because I think Good is a traitor to our party, and can't possibly believe the stuff he was saying about Trump. He was looking for advantage, whatever advantage he could get, and we don't need people like that. And apparently, I mean, McCarthy was after him too because he double-crossed McCarthy, but that's completely independent. So right now, McGuire leads by 370 or so votes, with 98% counted. Ted.
That's right. There's yeah. Yes, about 98%. There's still a few thousand outstanding. I think.
A few thousand? I mean, the few becomes important. What, about 1,800?
Yeah.
About 1,800 outstanding. Well, I mean, if you used arithmetic, that would be about right?
I don't trust when they get to between 95 and 100%.
Now, this is a Republican race, not Democrat. Who would the Democrats want? And they probably want Good, right?
Yes.
I mean, the Republicans are going to win this district, probably, right? Better than anybody expected, whether we win.
Yeah.
So this is a Democrats can only play as troublemakers in this, but I would assume they would want Good to create problems in our party, right? Lack of unity.
Right.
So who's counting the vote? I mean, there have been allegations about Virginia. I mean, we never followed them up, but I remember. I mean, the margin was too great. The legislature was too much against us to even expect to get a fair shake, so we didn't follow it up. But I do remember leaving behind tremendous number of allegations about the cheating they do in Virginia.
Sure.
So, and with McAuliffe there for a while, the guy who sold the Lincoln bedroom, you could imagine that it can't be a state where the party, and he was the head of the party for a while, has integrity. It was kind of a thing that he lacked completely.
Yeah.
Took a good drubbing too. I mean, I think he made probably one of the dumbest remarks ever made by a Democrat, and gave away their Marxist inclination when he said that parents should have nothing to do with the educational program because they're not teachers. Which got Karl Hitler, children should be rather than directed by their parents. So right now it's a 370 margin. They're at 98%. They didn't count on Juneteenth Day because it was a holiday. But didn't they count today?
Yeah, they're counting as we speak.
I mean, only 2%. I mean, 1,800 votes. I mean, you and I could count them in an hour.
I don't understand the delay at this reading about it.
Well, that always makes me worry.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember France had an election around the time of the 2020 election, and they reported the entire election in 5 hours. And then, of course, Pennsylvania took us 5 days. In fact, all the states that were stolen took an exorbitant amount of time, because that's how you steal them. You keep slipping votes in. Never let us see the paper in Georgia or in Pennsylvania. Meaning, I'm telling you that they put in phony paper for absentee ballots. I'm telling you that. They did. I'm also telling you that Governor Kemp fought like hell so that we never get to see a single piece of paper. And so did the guy who's governor now, Shapiro, of Pennsylvania. And I'm also telling you that if I ran that election, and I ran it straight as I would, and you accused me of 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 100,000 phony ballots, I'd say, hey, there's my paper. Come on in. I got all these guards here, so you touch one of those people, they're going to shoot you. But you want to examine it? And you got this expert, a Pulitzer here, this guy here. Let me have my guys look at this machine, make sure it doesn't change anything. Doesn't change anything? Yeah. Exhaust yourself, jerks, and then apologize. They never did that. In fact, now 375,000 paper ballots are missing in Georgia, but you don't hear about that. And if I had stayed with ABC, I couldn't tell you that now at 3 o'clock. Hey. 375,000 ballots are missing. I wonder what ballots those are. You think I have a right to suspect that those are the ballots that I would have found that were crooked if I had ever been allowed to look at the ballots with Mr. Pulitzer? What do you think? They think we're stupid. They do. And some of us are. I guess. Yes. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back to take a look at this prisoner swap that Moscow is offering. And is it or is it not going to happen? Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. This is Rudy Giuliani back with America's, back with the Rudy Giuliani Show. America's Mayor Live will be on 8 o'clock tonight. And I was actually just talking to Ted about what we're going to start with tonight. So I like to give you on this show and on America's Mayor Live the things that you don't get or aren't emphasized elsewhere. And therefore you get a wrong picture of what's going on in America. Like, you know, it took a long time for everybody to get the crisis at the border. I credit, to a large extent, Governor Abbott and to some extent Governor DeSantis for that by moving those people around. So it was in your backyard. And therefore, what was happening to the poor people of Texas was happening to you. But still, I mean, the impact on Texas compared to New York and Illinois and all the other places that are crime is ridiculous. It's nobody in comparison to what they've had to absorb, or Arizona, which looks like it's become a very solid Trump state. I do not understand for the life of me, Ted, why our good friend and the really talented Kerry Lake is trailing in any of those polls. I mean, first of all, she should have been governor. And second, she'd be winning that by 10%. She's so much better than, well, she's so much better than
That's right.
the governor. The governor, I think, has to take remedial
That's
thinking.
right. And I have a feeling, just like with President Trump, with a Kerry Lake poll, you got to add a few points.
I would think so. I would think so. I guess if she were governor, I wouldn't be indicted in Arizona.
Oh, and we know, I mean, we got to up close and
only Democrats indict me.
Experience with the Arizona media. I mean, their media, and I'm not going to
the guy that interviewed
a local guy. So they have the national. They're just as
the Democratic National Committee. I had fun with
that.
them.
Was a Democrat activist. That was not.
But he really wasn't of the caliber of the national media. I mean, he really was a dopey guy, wasn't he?
That's what you tell That's what you tell a volunteer on your campaign to go do on the opposition campaign, right? Go harass.
First thing he wanted to know was, do you feel bad for what you? Oh yeah, I'm crying. I'm crying because I tried to save America. Yeah, I'm crying because I tried to save democracy.
Yeah, your response was
little jerk.
Yeah, you had a great response to that.
Oh, I'm going to tell you this little thing. It didn't get much even in the Post, but at least it was in the Post. But it ain't going to be anyplace else. A transgender woman named Mia Bailey killed her parents in Utah. Now, I point that out to you not because I'm prejudiced against transgender, intergender, whatever those 50 or 60 or 70 genders are. I just don't know what they are, and I don't agree with it. But I'm not angry at them, or it's their issue, not mine. But I am worried about the fact that with all of this proselytizing that's done with gender-affirming treatment and surgery, that this is a big con. Another Marxist attempt to destroy our moral base. I mean, I see plenty of reports. I mean, a lot of reports go a lot of ways. And there is, if you don't deal with children who are doubting their sex, they're going to commit suicide. Then there's the group that says that the more you do deal with it, and the more you sort of encourage the doubting, the more suicide you're going to get. And particularly if you let them take definitive steps before they're 18, 19, 20, 21. A lot of people think in Europe it shouldn't be until 23 or 24 that you should be allowed to make any kind of definitive change in your sex. Because then you'll be somewhat more certain that it's a real deep down inclination, or it's the product of a whim, or it's the product of a mental illness. I mean, it was defined as mental illness. I don't know if you're allowed to define it anymore as mental illness. But if you think about what is mental illness, it's being divorced from reality, isn't it? That's what schizophrenia is. That, you know, think of the classical. When I was an assistant U.S. attorney, you used to get civil complaint duty, and it always entailed every week some nut job would come in. I'm sorry, nut job. Guy tell you he's George Washington, or I'm Abraham Lincoln. I go, yeah, it's nice to meet you, Abe. Right. Well, the guy's completely nuts, right? He's completely out of his mind. For some reason, he's not in Bellevue. And in those days, you could send him to Bellevue. Or I would have guys, maybe these guys were telling the truth. We used to have the guys that were claiming the government was taking their brainwaves. Once I told the guy to put tinfoil on his ears. And I got in a lot of trouble with my boss, because you're not supposed to be, you know, that was being a wise guy. The guy did, and he came back and complained that it didn't work. So, I mean, You don't ever know when somebody's like that, which ones are dangerous and which ones aren't. But if let me see if I can put this in a way that it doesn't get me in trouble, right? Yeah, I can do it. I can do it. If I have male genitalia and I think I'm female, there's something wrong. There's a divorce from reality. Like if I'm Rudy Giuliani, but I think I'm George Washington, right? I think. And we got to be really sensitive with that. Now, what is it? Is it just I'm a tomboy? Like my best friend when I grew up was for the first 6 or 7 years was female, little girl, a year older than me, my cousin. She played all the games that I played just as well. She was a tomboy. Well, she grew up to be a very beautiful woman with a lot of children and never had any inclination. I mean, I don't know. Maybe somebody who's a tomboy now says, gee, I like being a boy. And all of a sudden the teachers come down on it. The whole big establishment comes down. Gee, might even get Garland's son-in-law. They all come down on you. Hey, time to take some hormones. Boop, 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 boop. All of a sudden, the pretty little girl looks like, hey, stop it. It's crazy. Common sense, my American friends. If you have male genitalia, until further notice, you're a male. You've got female genitalia. You're a female. And I don't know about the psychiatry part of it, okay? That I leave up to the experts. I just raised the question. But I'm going to tell you what I do know. You got male genitalia, you ain't getting in a girl's room around me. Sorry, I'll come pull you out. And you're sure not getting there if my little granddaughter's going in, or my daughter, or my friend, my female friends. I may be 80, but I can still pull you out. You are not going in a ladies' room if you have male genitalia. Simply not going in, ever. Got it? And if you don't understand that, you're too stupid to be in public office. Well, with that, I want to remind everyone to make their contribution to Tunnel to Towers, T2T.org, the organization that does the most for our men and women in uniform at a time when they need it the most, including building homes for those who are catastrophically injured and working hard to eliminate homelessness among veterans. Send your $11 in now, T2T.org. And thank you very, very much for listening. And come back to us 8 o'clock tonight, right there. And we'll pick up for you all the other things that are being hidden from you, which are plenty. God bless America.
Teaches school.